Are you tired of smoking brisket, ribs, pulled pork, and chicken? Yeah, me neither. But if you are looking for a new interesting recipe, I got the perfect thing for you. I'm talking about flank steak. And we're not gonna just marinate and grill this up the boring way. We're going to stuff it, roll it up, and smoke it. And yes, I am still talking about the flank steak. So to get this thing prepped, we are going to have to slice it open like a book. And this is definitely the hardest part of the whole process. And every time I do this, I always F it up. So I'm gonna do my best to not screw this up. So bear with me as I take my sweet time and absolutely destroy this thing. All right, so there we are. Not too bad. Did get a little hole in it here and here. I think we'll be fine. Again, I hate doing this. It is super hard for me. So now I just want to flatten this down a little bit. Before we go to the next step, I want to get this rolled up, get a little size going here. You want to lay down your butcher string now. Pretty good there. I think we can just tighten these up a little bit. All right, then just roll it back out onto the butcher string there, and we can get this thing filled up. So before we fill this up, I just want to go on with some seasoning here. This is my barbecue seasoning. If you want to see how I make this, I have a seasoning video. You can check that out. It's a super simple recipe. Works great on everything though. So the first thing you're going to want in here is some vegetables. So get yourself some chopped up peppers and onions, and I'm using a red onion today. Throw it in a pan with a little salt and pepper. Just let it sweat out a little bit. Once the vegetables get a little bit soft, add a bunch of spinach into there, cover it up, let it steam. Once it's done steaming, go ahead and just mix it up. And the purpose for this is just to sweat out some of that moisture. Then what I did was I laid it onto a pan like this and threw it in my fridge. This allowed it to cool off very quickly. Now we can just take this, get it all on top of this flank steak. Go ahead and just spread this out. Try and keep a little bit of room around the edge. All these vegetables in here when this steak is cooking is gonna keep it nice and moist. This thing is going to be delicious. So once you got those vegetables on, get yourself some olives. Here I have just a mixed batch of olives. Make sure they are pitted though. Then just chop some of those up. And we're gonna spread those all over this. Now the last thing we're gonna add, a little bit of goat cheese. So cover this whole flank steak up nicely with all these ingredients. And then we can try and get this thing rolled up. So again, just take your time. It's not going to be perfect, but it is going to be good. There we go. Now you're going to want to tie your ends up first here. This is just going to try and help keep our stuffing in there when we tie the rest of it. And you can see some of it's going to come out, not a big deal. So then I like to go in with the center 2 strings. We could always add more strings later if we want. Get that nice and tight. Now get the last strings tied up, and the way I like to tie a butcher string is cross it, then loop it through twice. Then when you pull it tight, it kind of stays tight there, and then all you have to do is just loop it through and do another knot. There we go. Just cut the string, and we are almost good to go. Just want to go ahead and season this liberally with some more of that barbecue seasoning. All right, so there is our rolled up flank steak. I did add a few more pieces of string because it seemed a little loose to me, but this thing looks great. Just check it out. Nice, beautiful rolled up flank steak. It is kind of a pain to do, but whenever I'm finished cooking one of these, I'm super happy because it looks awesome and it tastes great. But I'll tell you what, during the process of getting something like this ready, I always say to myself, why the heck did you decide to cook something like this? But it's worth all the trouble in the end, I'm telling you. Now I'm gonna be cooking this on my pit barrel cooker today. I've already gone out, started it up. As usual, I like to use lump charcoal in my pit barrel cooker, and I've thrown a few chunks of hickory wood in there to add some extra flavor to this delicious flank steak. Now I really wanna monitor the temperature on this. I don't want it to go much higher than 130 or 135 degrees. So you're gonna wanna monitor the internal temperature of this, and the best way to do that is with a wireless meat thermometer. And today I'm going to be using my meat stick wireless thermometer. This thing is great. I have a couple review videos on this, so be sure to check them out. I love these thermometers, but this is what I'm gonna be using today to monitor my cook. So there we are. This is all set. Let's get it out and on the smoker. All right, pit barrel's smoking away. Let's get this flank steak on. All right, on she goes. Just get our other rod in here. Get the cover on and let it smoke. So I've got the meat stick wireless thermometer set to inform me once the meat hits 130 degrees. I think that's a good temperature to pull a flank steak off, either 130 to 135, especially since it has all that filling in there. You want to give everything time to cook together and let that steak get nice and tender. Now you saw how big the strands of muscle were in the flank steak. That's why I like cooking it to 130 to 135 degrees. It really can use that extra time to break down that muscle tissue. Now if you're cooking something like a beef tenderloin where those strands of muscle are super small, you can pull it off at a lower temperature because it doesn't need any heat to be tender. So that's why I'm going to pull the flank steak at 130 degrees, because it's going to have some carryover heat and keep cooking. Now the pit barrel cooker is a great option when you're cooking a beef roast like this, whether it's a prime rib roast, a beef tenderloin, or a rolled up flank steak like we're doing today. The pit barrel cooker does wonders with these, because usually when you smoke a roast like that, you have to sear it afterwards, and with a pit barrel cooker you don't need to do that. While it's smoking, it also has a high enough heat that it builds a beautiful crust on the roast, so you don't have to worry about searing. That's why I love the pit barrel cooker. A prime rib roast on the pit barrel cooker comes out phenomenal. I have a video on that if you want to see it, but I'm telling you, give it a try. The pit barrel cooker was actually the first smoker I ever had. It was the junior model, and I made some terrible barbecue on that thing. All to my own fault, had nothing to do with the pit barrel. Once I figured out how to do barbecue properly, that thing cranked out some amazing cuts of meat, and I instantly fell in love with their product. I ended up finding a used original pit barrel cooker, which is what I'm using today. Now if you're interested in a pit barrel cooker, I'll make sure to leave a link down in the description for you so you can check them out. But I'm telling you, especially if you are new to barbecue, give one of these a try. It gives you fantastic flavor, and it is great at learning fire management. But for now, I'm just going to sit around and wait for the meat stick to inform me that that thing hit 130 degrees. Then I'll go out and check it. But since you're watching the video, you don't have to wait. Let's go do it now. All right, it's been an hour and 40 minutes, and the meat stick just informed me this thing hit 130 degrees. Check that out. Does that not look amazing? See the beautiful crust the pit barrel has given this flank steak roll. But this is ready, so I'm gonna pull it off, let it rest, and then we'll slice into it. All right, here's our beautiful flank steak. So I let it rest for about 20 minutes, and the carryover took it to around 145 degrees. So this steak may be on the more medium well side. But if you're gonna overcook a steak, this is the one to do it. This steak you can cook to a little hotter temperature just because it's filled with all those vegetables. It's gonna keep it nice and moist. And a flank steak needs a little more cooking time anyway, so I am not concerned with where this got to a temp at all. Without further ado, let's slice this up. So you're gonna wanna leave the string on, and what I like to do is cut the slices on each side of the string so each slice will be held together with that twine. So let's go ahead, just cut this right down the middle. See how this came out. You ready? Oh my Yeah. Is that not beautiful or what? And check it out. It is actually nicely cooked. Still got a nice red color on there. And if you look closely, we got a little bit of a smoke ring you can see over here. But does that not look good or what? All right, so let me get a slice so I can give this a try. Beautiful. There we go. So I can try and lift this up without it falling apart. Look at that beautiful rolled flank steak. Does that not look delicious or what? So time to give it a try. So now you can pull that string off, give it a slice. And there's a beautiful piece to try. So here we go. Those flavors are great. Cooking with those vegetables in there allows the steak to be super tender. The olives and the goat cheese add fantastic flavor in there, but this thing is super tender and has a fantastic smoke flavor. And the crust on there is ridiculous thanks to the pit barrel. This was a good recipe. I'm super happy with the results. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. If you are looking for any of the stuff I used in my video today, the butcher string, the knives, anything, I put that down in the description below, so be sure to check it out. I'll also put a link to the pit barrel cooker down there as well if you are interested. But if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe right over here. And you should check out another barbecue video like this one right over here. But most importantly, get out there and smoke something good.